Are you a coach who is not closing enough deals as you would like to inside of your coaching business? If yes, there are two main reasons why that would happen. Number one, you're not getting enough attention, you're not generating enough leads, and people don't know who you are. Or number two, you do have people coming into your business, but you are just not using the right tactics to convert those people into leads with interest into actual paying customers for your business. Inside of this video, I'm going to break step by step down what you need to do to generate more leads and close more deals in your coaching business. If you do not know who I am, my name is Chris Berry. I've helped coaches sell over $10.5 million online, and I'm going to break everything down for what you need to do to generate more leads and close more deals. So with that said, let's jump right into it. Generating leads, okay? There are three ways that you can go ahead and generate leads, okay? Number one is going to be through outreach. Number two is going to be through content. And number three is going to be through paid ads. Also, by the way, welcome, Rose. I see you hopping in here. If you can, turn on your camera. If not, all good. Essentially, what you've missed thus far is we talked about generating leads and closing more deals, what we're going to be discussing today. So the ways to generate leads, once again, number one is outreach. Number two is creating content for your business. Hello, Rose. Nice seeing you. And number three is going to be paid ads. So ultimately, outreach, that could mean both cold and warm outreach. Cold being people that you have never met on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is, emails, text messages. And then warm outreach is more of, let's say, going after your existing email list, your existing text list, your contacts, everything like that. So that is the very first approach. Content, simple enough. That is posting stuff on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, going on podcasts, putting that sort of stuff out there. And then the third way is paid ads. Now, most coaches that I run into, they're going to go ahead and typically pick one of these first two things. And Rose, I know that you popped on your camera for a second. You're more than welcome to keep it on, but even if you can, as everyone else, good afternoon, everyone. Oh, she moved locations. That's what it was. Do me a favor, if you want, even unmute yourself for a second, because I want to make sure that, obviously, I'm kind of sharing some of the stuff, but I want to make sure it's interactive and as helpful to you. So first of all, I know you just joined, so welcome. Go ahead and just introduce yourself to everyone that's here, and go ahead and just tell them what your coaching business is.
Hi, Chris. How are you? I think there's a little noise in my background. Hold on, let me turn it off because
You're all good. It's actually blocked out. Zoom does a really good job.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my son is in the background for sure. It's the
It's
other
all good.
noise.
It's all good.
I'm Rose, and where do I start? Honestly, outside of my age, because I tend to do that. When I introduce myself, I tend to say I'm 52. I'm raising a 9-year-old.
Okay.
As I stated in the community, I work in various industries. Outside of being mom now, I'm a former nurse. I've worked in real estate. I've worked, in legal. I worked for a couple of attorneys in the past. So I have a wide range of exposure. That's the only way I could say it. But unfortunately, the length of it, the intervals, like the times I've worked, has been like over a decade apart.
Okay.
So I'm trying to figure out if I could just concentrate on what I'm doing right now with my son, raising him, and then especially being special needs, and then incorporate a little bit of healthcare issues. And I've been on Facebook for a while, and I mean for 10 years, but I never considered becoming a life coach until I would say the pandemic was the pivotal shift for me.
Okay.
And I've been in several communities before. So, and like I explained to you earlier, because of this whole employee mindset, that was part of the reason why I was always hesitant to really take the plunge. So I want to be around men, who've done it, and see what it's going to take for me to persevere. Because it's one thing to say, yeah, I want to do it, but where I'm at right now is perseverance, because that's literally what I'm about right now. Because it's easier for me to just pour my energy into helping somebody propel them forward, but how to take that same energy and pour into myself, because that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like sharing obviously what you've gone through, but in the same sense, doing this is obviously something you're passionate about, and it also helps kind of fuel you too. Is that fair to say?
Much, yeah.
Okay.
Everything I've done, it always impacted my life in some level. Correct.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And also, I see that Wesley went ahead and popped in. Nice to at least have you here if you can. Ah, there we go. Awesome. Nice to see you as well,
Yeah.
Wes. So Rose, go ahead and do me a favor. Let me know with your coaching business, kind of where are you at in the process? Obviously, I know today what we're primarily talking about is generating leads, closing more deals. At a high level, though, where are you at in the business, and then how can we kind of tailor this to where you're at?
I'm brand new.
Okay.
Like I said, keep pulling in whatever you have to plug in. I'll just take the notes. Especially if you're gonna record it anyway, so you're gonna put it back. So that's basically why I'm auditory, but I also hear it and I like to re-listen again and then write it down. So it works for me that way.
Absolutely. Perfect. So essentially,
Hmm.
if it's brand new, step one of what you're going to want to do is you want to get clear on your offer and who you're helping. Okay. So that
Yeah,
would
I
be
know.
number one that I'd share with you. This is going to be the next step after that. So obviously, it's helpful information, not the very first thing, but regardless, obviously, as you said, kind of continue along here.
Yeah.
Wesley, tell me in a little bit about your business. What are you coaching people on, and where are you at in the process of generating leads for your business?
Yeah. So I have a coaching business that's primarily focused on individuals that have diabetes and
Okay.
that want to reverse diabetes without having to use medication necessarily. My background is I'm in med school right now, graduating in
Yep.
May.
Mm.
So I have a medical background, but I'm coaching individuals on how to reverse diabetes without medication. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. And yeah, right now at the very beginning of the business, I have in my school community right now about 42 members. It's
Yep.
free right now. I think you joined. Yeah, I think you joined the other day, so I kind of maybe saw it.
Yep.
And so that's kind of what we're working with right now. And right now, as far as leads and generating more leads, I'm just doing organic stuff right now. I'm just trying to reach out to people that I know have diabetes, people that are on my phone list.
Yep.
On Facebook, I posted some content on Facebook just talking about the new community that we started and inviting people to join. And then I've been playing around with our email list. We've got 16,000 on our email list. And so just playing around with sending out 100 there, 100 here to kind of feel out what is the best way to reach out to our email list and see what kind of responses we're going to get, because it's an email list that I've acquired from this partnership with the organization that has the course content.
Okay.
And so they haven't been using the list though for like several years regularly. So it's kind of warming that list up again and
Yep.
seeing what the response is like.
Okay, understood. I know that we went ahead, we kind of had a little bit of texting back and forth. I know I'm in your school community. There is a video that I went ahead and did yesterday that I think you're really going to like because I broke it down. I'm going to touch about on it a little bit here as well as we kind of talk
Awesome.
about the leads because I worked with this guy who long story short, went ahead and was generating 15 to 30 leads every single day for his coaching business. Same exact niche basically as you. His whole
Awesome.
big thing was through not medication, not any of that, how to undo type 2 diabetes is one of the things, how to lose weight, how to do all of these different things. He ended up pivoting entirely to doing more of a low ticket, kind of like a $30 a month. And therefore
Okay.
I'm like, hey, I'm more focused on like, let's continue to build out all of this in regards to high ticket and serve more people on that level. He didn't necessarily want to, so we're not partnered still to now, I'll say. But long story short, the stuff that we did worked. So I'll touch upon that here in a second.
Yeah,
Uh,
cool.
Coming
And by
back
the way,
here,
I will have to step out for a doctor's appointment here in a few minutes, but so you know, I'll be stepping out. But thank you
cool.
for, yeah.
That's all good. This is all being recorded, so you can go ahead and come back to it. Nice to meet you, though. If you have to pop out
Yeah.
before we get the
In about
chance,
10 minutes. Yeah.
yeah. So
Thank you.
long story short, though, when you're generating your leads, obviously right now you have a couple of different things. You're doing outreach, right? It's kind of somewhere in between this cold and warm right here, right? It's a list that was previously warm, but it's years old, so it almost
Yep.
is more on kind of that cold side of things. Another thing too, I know you talked about kind of posting stuff inside of your communities, putting out content, but by all means, when you're starting out, this can be very good. Don't get me wrong. The only hard part with this is to get to a point to where content is constantly generating you a bunch of leads, or to where the outreach, with the outreach side, it typically involves a lot more numbers, a lot more outflow, number one. And then number two, on the content, it's very similar in the fact of you need to put out a lot out there until something actually catches. And then from then you can do it. So if I'm starting out a new coaching business and I'm talking to a coach and I'm like, hey, serious about wanting to grow this, I want to get consistency, the thing that I always recommend is paid ads. And the reason why is because I can go ahead and put $100 in. I get 10 leads out of it. From those 10 leads, I'm going to go ahead and get 4 of those people to book a call with me. From those 4 people, 50% of them are going to show up, let's say. So 2 of them show up and I'm going to close 1 of the 2, right? So now you have an actual system to where you could say, okay, I'm going to do this. This is going to happen. And then obviously the statistics change. And that's where the more of like the skills come in of like, okay, we're going to optimize the funnel on this. We're going to optimize this messaging, whatever it is. But that's one of the things that I do recommend for people if they do have the budget. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Like we're talking maybe $500 a month is the starting point that I'd recommend, just so you can start getting stuff in. And especially with you, I know you have your school community. I mean, it's the same exact thing as we have, for example, with my school community. That is the paid ad that's coming in. And then what I'm doing is I'm going ahead and I'm using the content to nurture all of these people, right? So because, are you familiar with the, hello, Eric, nice seeing you. Are you familiar with the 7-11-4 study by Google?
This was Chris's class.
No, I'm not familiar with that. No.
Is that
Okay.
Yeah.
right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, you're good. Wesley, so essentially Google did a study over thousands of different businesses. What they found out is that on average, a person needs to go ahead and consume 7 hours worth of content over 11 different touch points over 4 different mediums before they're actually comfortable enough to go ahead and purchase from you, right? So within that, and one thing that I always talk about, I know Eric here, we went ahead and met up this past weekend and we talked about a CGE. Are you familiar with what a CGE is, Wesley?
No.
Okay, so CGE stands for a community growth ecosystem. And essentially, the hard part with most coaches, even if they do have it figured out, right? Let's say they have these 3 things sorted, right? They're generating leads, they're doing stuff. The hard part is most of them just go out, they focus on sales, and then they focus on delivery. And then they're not making enough money, so then they have to go focus on sales again, and then delivery. And it's just constant game of like good month, bad month, revenue-wise. So the thing that I talk about a lot is building out your CGE. And the whole purpose behind is how can you make this ecosystem, this thing that can allow you to have business constantly coming in, and you're actually building a business that works for you rather than you working for it, constantly just having to chase after. So if you do want to have some other content that I can share at a later time, but kind of tying all this back together, right? Because obviously the purpose of today's call is generating leads and getting more sales. So within this, as you're generating the leads, you already have the community. You have some of these emails that you're dripping out on people. That's where this part is going to go ahead and really come into play, because most people, when they're getting on sales calls, they step up to, let's use a baseball analogy, they step up to bat and they're just sitting there and they're just swinging for home runs. Oh, I'm going to sell you on my $5,000 program. $5,000 program, right? But we all know it doesn't work like that, right? Some people are ready to buy right now. Some people are only ready to buy a $97 program. Some people are ready to go ahead and maybe need a couple months and just getting comfortable with us. So long story short, that's where your CGE comes in and kind of building all of this out. So zooming back to kind of where you are now, you're on this stage right here of doing outreach. What I would recommend is if you're wanting consistency and really growing your school community and also getting consistent revenues, transitioning to something like a paid ad is what I would highly recommend, because it gives you that. And don't get me wrong, you can still do outreach, you can still do content. The biggest thing is though, that paid ads, it gives you that consistency. So you're not 1 month like, okay, I'm going to do $30,000 and the next month I'm due 3, right? It gives you consistent flow in. And then from then you have these systems where you can go ahead and obviously then turn these people into actual paying clients for you. So before I transition into that, does that kind of make sense? Do you have any questions on the fact of like generating leads or any of that?
No, that makes sense. It makes sense. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So let's say we've gone ahead and generated leads. And here's the thing too. I know that, and we actually do have a decent amount of time. So we kind of can dive a little bit deeper into some of these topics depending on what we're wanting to go ahead and do. My expectation is I'll probably take the next, let's say 15 to 25 minutes, kind of just breaking stuff down for you guys. And then I want it just to be a full open forum, back and forth. What are you guys coming across? How can we actually implement this information? So let's say we've gone ahead and generated the leads, whether it be through doing outreach. We talked about cold. That could be cold email list. It could be cold text messages. It could be cold outreach on social media sites. We've talked about warm, which is you, for example, taking your phone and just starting to go through people and reaching out to them. We've talked about content. which I'm going to show you here in a minute here, Wesley, because I know that's very pertinent to you, which is that other coach I was telling you about. He did primarily content. And then you also have paid ads. So let's say you've gone ahead, you've picked one of these, you're generating leads into your business. Now, how do we actually convert these leads into sales? So Wesley, fill me in. I know you have your school community. You have around, I believe you said like 60 people or something like that. You have this gigantic email list. What are you currently doing to take those people from leads and convert them into sales?
So right now I've done zero. I've done nothing. So that's where I wanted to start off. I just started the community like 7 days ago. So we're pretty fresh as well.
Yep.
Just getting started. And so, yeah, that's the next step is like, okay, I need to figure out what the best strategy is to monetize this and convert, get sales off of this, whether it be the monthly recurring on school or the high ticket sales that we want to also obviously get to.
Of course. Okay. Another thing too that's also helpful, because if we're going to talk about sales, we got to also make sure what are we selling, right?
Yeah.
As of right now, what is your offer that you're looking to go ahead and sell these people if you were to sell
Yes,
them?
we have an 8 week coaching program.
Okay.
Yeah. And once again, this is not fully developed, honestly. It's more like, I mean, the actual content of the course is developed, but how we're going to offer it is not.
Okay.
But it's an 8 week program where we coach individuals through reversing their diabetes, lowering A1Cs, losing weight, and learning how to be able to eat well without not having to sacrifice their favorite foods.
Okay. And as they're doing this, it's 8 weeks. What are you currently planning on doing in order to deliver this 8 week program to go out and help them decrease diabetes, A1C, lose weight without, we'll call it losing your mental sanity?
Right.
So how
Yeah.
do you
So
plan on delivering this?
So we would have, I mean, and this can I'm very open to feedback on this, but right now it would be at least weekly meetings, if not more than that, where
Okay.
they have access to the exclusive content, the course, which is about 6 hours of this like course material video content from our doctor that presents the actual content. And then we would have implementation sessions where we review, the goals, what they're trying to accomplish, and
Yep.
week by week, measure what they're at currently, measure their A1Cs, measure their weight, and see week by week improvements, hopefully, in all the different domains that they want to address. So it could be unique for different people who have different desires and what they want to accomplish through, whether it be eating better, getting more exercise, having accountability to actually, keep them to doing like through texts and phone calls throughout the week to help them stay on track and that kind of thing. So that at the end of the 8 weeks they can see a significant change in their numbers. So we really it'll end up being it should be a 12-week course really. The
Okay.
last 4 weeks really would be more follow up with the information that they've gained, because A1Cs have to be measured with at least 3 month gaps in between. So we
Okay.
want to give time for them to see results with their A1Cs. So yeah, really, yeah. So anyway, most
Okay.
people have
Understood.
A1C, yeah, a most recent A1C that's further back anyway, so that's fine too. I mean, 8 weeks could work, 12 weeks, whatever. But
Yep.
that's the idea. That's the idea that I currently formed in my mind.
Yep.
We have done these programs in person before,
Mhm.
but it's more of like a group session and that kind of thing in different churches primarily.
Okay.
But this would be the first time that we're actually doing it like fully online.
Understood. And these group with churches and stuff like that, how many people approximately have you done in the past going through this program?
Me myself personally, like
Just in general, like how many people have you working with these groups have you helped go through this type of program or this type of training?
yeah, oh man, it's in like the hundreds for sure. I don't know exactly number.
Okay.
I have to look that up. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Hey guys, what's going on? It's Chris. A lot of you leave comments and send DMs to me telling me that you need help. Do me a favor. I'm going to tell you the best way to get a hold of me. Shoot me a text message right now at 949-990-5808. Once again, that's 949-990-5808. I'll help you with whatever you guys need. I got your back. Let's get back to the video. And also, I know, Rose, you're here in the background with your son. This is something that I'd also pay attention, because if I was walking through your offer, it's honestly going to be something very similar on this too. So Wesley, fill me in. What's the price for this current 8-week program?
Yeah.
All these things.
So when we did the group program, it was $100 a person. That was in person.
Okay.
Now this would be more individualized. I don't know what to offer it at. Honestly, I feel like I would have to test it. I don't know. If I was to offer it today, I would probably offer it for $2,000 for individual coaching. But once again, I have no idea what the right price would be for this offer.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing a number out there, honestly.
Yeah, I heard $100 and I'm like, oh no, not another one of these stories, please. Because I meet with all these coaches that like are a very good product, yet they just don't
Yeah.
really charge enough. I think 2K is in closer to a right direction. I put a
Okay.
little question mark here before. Fill me in, and I know you even talked about maybe moving it to 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Why 8? Why 12 weeks? Why are you choosing
Yeah.
these?
So the reason I said 12 is because it takes 3 months to get an accurate A1C. If you say you got an A1C on day one, it would take at least 90 days to have an accurate A1C that has any measurable difference. To get a proper assessment, right? You don't do them 1 month in between. So
Yep.
that's why I would want there to be that time frame so they could actually see statistical numbers of like, hey, this has actually improved my A1Cs by X amount. That's a big deal, right? That's diabetes in general, A1C, how we measure it.
Yep.
And so that's why I was saying 12, because I want them to go through the whole process of saying, hey, try this for 3 months and see the results.
Yep.
So I mean, I'm just saying this now, and I feel like it would be better positioned as a 12-week offer.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I don't know. But
So
that's why the question mark, and that's why
okay.
12.
So
Can I say something? He's right, Chris, because I used to work as a nurse, and usually when you want to go through those programs, because people are not always consistent the first 30 days,
Mhm.
to really have that, even 60 days is not even because people's habits and the health coach, and they literally you have to have somebody behind them to
yeah.
stay on top of it. So yeah, it's the habits. It's a habit
Mhm.
forming thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I were to choose between 8 and 12, I think we're all kind of on the same page. I'd say the 12 would make more sense because then there's
Okay.
also more of something you can sell the person on it. To put into perspective, the person I worked with previously in this space, it was a 6-month program and we sold it for $5,000.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Now, on that, one thing that immediately comes to mind that I feel that you could probably implement into your business is that he talked about not only the fact of putting the right things in your body, but he talked about the biggest hurdle that people typically come across is the emotional attachment that they have to food. And he goes ahead and he does this whole background explaining how starting in the 1970s, 1980s, and stuff like that, how these food companies wanted to go ahead and get more people eating their stuff and everything like that. And you don't even realize when you go ahead, and this is literally what he would do. He'd take a tub of ice cream and he's like, hey, when you see this, what do you think? You think sadness, or you associate that to like sitting down and like watching a movie or something like that. And
Right.
you can go ahead and give people a couple of these examples. And what it starts doing, it starts taking any sort of pre-notions that they have, limiting beliefs, and like, oh my gosh, you're so right. What do you think about when you think of popcorn? You think of sitting down and
Right.
watching a movie. So that's the
Yep.
thing. And essentially what you do is like, look, you've had these food companies essentially implant these certain beliefs into your head that when you're feeling this way, you need to get this food. When you're doing this and doing that, and what we have to do is we have to reprogram your brain to think differently. So that would definitely be one key integral piece that I'd recommend to implement into your business. I see you're moving around. I know you said you have to go to the doctor. Are you still good to chat or do you have to hop off, by the way?
I'm good to chat. I got about a 10-minute drive.
Okay, cool. So that would be one thing that I would, if I were in your shoes, I would implement into my business because that's something that people can actually, oh my gosh, you're so right. When I think about coconut popcorn, I'm like, oh, movies. Okay. What do I think about when it's like, and there's all these different things that you start to do. And not only does it actually get to the root cause and actually help get transformational change for people, number one, but number two, people are like, oh my goodness, that's exactly it. And now you have more credibility. So now when you're coming at saying, hey, I'm going to make you this offer, I'm going to do that, you have like, okay, this guy actually knows what he's talking about. I didn't even think about this. I have so many gaps in my vision that I need someone like Wesley to go ahead and walk you through that. Exactly. That's a really good point, Rose. Rose went ahead and dropped in the comments, and they'll pay you more. Exactly. Because the thing is a lot of people have this focus more on like, okay, I'm only going to drop A1C or whatever, which don't get me wrong is good, but how can you really get to the outcome? Right.
Right.
a good way to describe, and you guys have probably heard this before, is rather than selling, okay, you're going to show up to the airport, you're going to have to wait to check in your bag, you're going to have to wait a while, people are being annoying around you, then you're going to go through TSA, you're going to take your shoes off, take your belt off, inconvenience you, they're going to pull you aside, they're going to open up your bag, then you're going to get on the plane, you're going to sit next to a person that probably needs to go through your program because they eat a little too much and they're a little smelly and everything like that, and you start selling all of these things rather than like, hey, look, instead, we're going to bring you to a beautiful white sand beach, crystal clear blue waters in Hawaii. And on that, you're going to have this, this, and this. And so as you're doing this, especially in the health space, if you can attach these final outcomes to people rather than only A1C, which don't get me wrong is important, but why in the world do they care about decreasing their A1C? They care because they want to be able to run around with their grandkids. They want to be able to enjoy life rather than constantly living in pain or constantly have to be worrying, where's my sugar level at? Right.
Right.
So that as Rose was talking about, when you take all of these different things from gaps of knowledge when it comes to the mental and emotional connections people have to food, when you outcome base it instead of just numbers or, hey, it's going to be X weeks and we're just going to meet a couple times, when you get in these things, you can charge so much more. Because if I were to go tell a person, hey, if I could give you, I can't put a specific number, but even if I just extended your life an extra 1 or 2 years by you going through this, is that worth $5,000 to you? Of course it is. Right? To have one more laugh with your loved ones, to walk your granddaughter down the aisle, like whatever it is, there's all these things that you can do psychologically to get the person out of just the specific thinking and more into like results-based thinking, which allows you to charge more and also get them more emotionally invested so they actually do the work they need to get to the set outcome.
Yes.
So that would so continue to play around with all these different things. You're going to know this space best, right? Because you're in it, understand it. And so this is also where, Rose, I know we talked about before, you're not at the stage yet where you're generating leads, but you're at the point where you got to identify your ideal client. The better you can understand your ideal client, the struggles they go through, the questions that they have in their head and all of that, the easier it's going to be for you to go ahead and craft your marketing, to craft your sales, because then at that point, you can go and speak directly to their pain points and be like, look, I know it's scary. I know, just take my hand. I'm going to help you get to this outcome. Right. So that would be, Wesley, I know you're getting close to your appointment here. That would be the biggest thing that I'd say for you is on your offer, definitely go for something more of a 12-week, get on results and outcome based thinking. I think I gave you the price point. It was $5K for 6 months. Take with that as you wish. I think ultimately people have a tendency to charge too little. Right. Another thing to talk about, making it more personalized. If I were in your position, are you cool if I give you my feedback as to what I would do if I was in your position?
Absolutely. Thank you.
So what I would do, you can go ahead and make it 12 weeks. I would then go ahead and have a personalized onboarding where I have a strategy document where I go ahead and I have them, okay, we're going to go and get your test. You probably analyze the current A1C. You do that, you call your onboarding experience where you're explaining to them, here's everything you get, but then you're also making a customized strategy document for them. And I do this, but you actually are. But then what you do is you have a group coaching offer where you're going to run them through the same exact 8 weeks, except people are going to have their own personalized strategy document that they're going to have their own vision, their own lens based on this content, okay? That's going to be the main one-on-one piece you have. Then you have your weekly Q&A, right? Where you can answer questions and kind of go through everything that's a bit more personalized, but you're doing it in a group setting, not on a one-on-one setting. And I also have one other, so you're going to have a total of 2 masterminds per week. One is the Q&A and the other one is you're more going into content. If you don't already have the content built, then that's what I would do. I would make a framework for here's my 12 weeks, here's what we're going to go through. And then along the way, I would make the content. I wouldn't make all the content up front. I'd sell the framework and do the content along the way and then have the Q&A. Let's assume you already have content. You don't need that second one. Then literally you're down to 1 Q&A per week and you're good. And then you have the ability to where you're not doing a one-on-one for only $2,000, right? You're having it to where group coaching. And in the early stages, I would just have you be that coach because you're going to, I would name it as you have a personalized assigned coach that's going to walk you through everything. In the beginning, you're you. As you continue to scale up, as you continue to add in paid ads, which adds more consistency in your business, you get more sales and everything like that. What I then do is I would hire a coach to do exactly what you're doing. You make maybe you make the personalized strategy documents for a little while, but the coach is just there to keep them accountable. Hey, Wesley's having his call in 30 minutes. Make sure you're there. Hey, make sure we get this assignment done, whatever it is. And they're just running them through your 12-week step-by-step process. So that's what
Right.
I was in your position.
I love it. I love it. And so, just so I'm clear on it, you said that so the offer would be we just probably public program, all the results that I would give around that, and
Yep.
then it would be a personalized one-on-one strategy call or like the onboarding call to
Yep.
give them that personalized like, hey, this is where we're at, where we're gonna go,
Yep.
idea, and then we meet in a group with whoever else is there, doing the both the content and the Q&A.
Yep. You got it.
And yeah, that makes sense, man. I love it. I love it. And then what do you think about the price? Do you think the 2000 is too little?
12 weeks, 3 months. I think it's not bad. I think it's also a matter where you're comfortable with. If you were to go
Yeah,
$3,000 for 12 weeks, I think that could make sense since you're $1,000 a month. It's
right,
$3,000 for this outcome. And then on the
right,
back end, the beautiful part is that when you really get results with these people, you can go ahead and then upsell them into another
right.
program. Like, hey, I loved working with you guys for the past 3 months. I want to be real with you. I would love to continue this conversation. I want to continue this because we all know that the mental and emotional connection to food is the biggest thing. And you guys are just getting over the hump right now. And I want to make sure
Right.
that this amazing work that we just had for the past 3 months doesn't just all go to waste. So for those reasons, we're going to have, and then you have your upsell on the back end, which is just
Gotcha.
another level.
Right. I love it. I love it.
So that's what I recommend. One last thing before you go too. You talked about how you had hundreds of people that you'd worked with inside of these church groups, different groups and stuff like that.
Yes.
If
Yes.
I were you, I would get a testimonial from as many of those people as I could,
I
just
got
saying,
that.
hey,
Yeah.
here's what I went through, here's the result. Even if they don't become paying clients, that is extremely valuable to you, right? So that's
Huge.
one thing I
Right.
would do. Number two, I'd also seek to get all of these people into your free school community.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Sounds good. I will do that. 'Cause there's an email segment that I have that is people that participated in our programs before. So I'll do a special campaign for them as well to get them into this community. That would be
Yep.
a good idea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And one thing on that giant email list, you can use somewhat of a wow factor and through statistics, especially right now. A person who's screaming this from the rooftops is RFK Jr., regardless of whatever you think of him. He
Right.
recently put up with Trump. It's a big buzz and everything like that. And he's been screaming from the rooftops that 75% of Americans are overweight or obese, and
Mm.
51% of those are children. And I believe the statistic is also 50% of people in the US are either pre-diabetic or have type 1 or type 2 diabetes.
That's absolutely correct. That's correct.
So if I were you,
Crazy.
I would go ahead and I'd put out some sort of email that, hey, have you heard about the pandemic? Because that's a big word that's being thrown around, obviously from COVID. They're trying to throw monkeypox and all of this different stuff as it gets closer to the election. They're most likely
Right.
going to throw something out there. So it's a little buzz and a stir in the background. And I would do something like, hey, have you heard about the new pandemic that is affecting over 50% of Americans? And spin it something like
Absolutely.
that. That's a wow factor.
That's good.
Get them to
Yeah.
go ahead and then come into whether it be your community where you talk about it. Maybe you do a live webinar. Maybe you just have a VSL video that you put together. And then at the end, you're just consistently, and that's where the CGE comes in. You're getting them inside of your spider web and you're just slowly moving them closer and closer and closer until boom, they're in your 12-week program, upsell, so on and so forth.
Right. Love it. Love it.
Cool. Okay.
Hey, guys, I have to go right now. It's wrap.
Yep.
I think I'm jumping off. Yeah, we'll talk more later.
All
Appreciate
good. Nice meeting you, and we'll be in touch.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay. Rose, fill me in.
Brilliant.
I know
I don't have anything else to say. I love everything you said.
Okay, good. Is this helpful, by the way? I know obviously you're just getting started.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, my favorite client is constantly interrupting me.
You're all good. You're all good. So
I appreciate everything you've shared thus far. Actually, you give me a lot to think about.
Good. So what I would recommend for you then, as you're continuing to build this, number one, you have to understand who you want to help. And I'll literally give you an example. Like I get crazy specific. I'm going to pull it up here. Ideal client. Because the better you understand, and the beautiful part that I like about communities is that you're able to constantly be surrounded by your ideal clients so you can really get to know them. That's also why I can justify every single week just coming on these calls and everything, because I can talk to people. I can understand what are they struggling with, what is the messaging, and everything that is going to go ahead and really resonate with them. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this up for you. So this is an example of a client that I worked with here. And okay, let me know. Can you see this here? It says teammate real estate ideal client. Either unmute yourself or
Yes, I can. Yes, I can
Okay,
see it.
perfect.
It has
this,
like two columns or something like that.
yep. And so I literally go down into what are their values, what are their goals, what social influencers do they follow, what books do they read, what YouTube channels do they pay attention to, what are their potential objections, what work do they do, how much money are they making. There's all of these different things that I'm going to go ahead and run through with these people. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because the more that you can understand your ideal client, easier everything's going to be. Because then when you're making your offer, your program, you're going to speak directly to the problem that they're facing, right? So what, and the interesting part too, because obviously I know you're focused more on kind of life coach and resilience and everything like that. Especially on the early stages, this is helpful, I feel. The person who we are most qualified to help is typically us 5 to 10 years ago. And so the beautiful part behind that is that you also typically have a really good understanding of how did you feel 5 to 10 years ago when you're going through some sort of adversity, when you're overcoming this, that now you're going to help other people do as well. So that would be my recommendation for you is number one, get crystal clear. Who is your ideal client and how are you going to help them? Right. Or first of all, who's your ideal client? What are their struggles? And then within the offer, how are you going to help them overcome said pain point, said roadblock, achieve said outcome? Whatever it is, that's what you want to go ahead and focus on up here. So then you can go ahead and makes it much easier to have an offer that they're going to want to buy from you. So then once that's done, then we're going to jump into this stuff here that we talked about, getting leads, converting them into sales and everything like that. So that's what I go ahead and say for that. Do you have any questions?
Wow.
You're kind
May
of
I
jumping around.
interrupt? May I interrupt? You said something
Absolutely.
very important. I've heard it before, but the way you put it, it's brilliant. Because I'm like I told you my age, I'm 52. But when I was 42, I just became a parent in my 40s, and having to deal with, dealing with I basically parenting a special needs child. So that would be the population or my ideal client at this point, because that's where I was at this, at that time. And I'm part of some of those communities, but it's just after, you give me a lot to think about. I appreciate it. That's all I could say, but thank you, because I've heard it before, but it's just the way you said it, it's just clicked differently. So I appreciate that. That's all I could say for now.
Of course, you're all good. And the cool thing is that sometimes you just say different messages in different ways. And I was like, oh, it clicks. And it's like, hold on, why didn't I get that? I'd heard this before, but sometimes it just clicks. One thing I'll throw in with you as well is because I know that Wesley, when he was here, he was talking about like, what do I charge? And I probably should have gave him this. He'll probably see this in the recording. As you're considering pricing for your offer, I want you to think about yourself 10 years ago, right when you first had your son, and think about the hard lessons you had to learn, the struggles, the failures, the things that you thought were going to go one way and went another way. And imagine if you have 52-year-old Rose, they are right alongside 42-year-old Rose saying, hey, you're going to want to do this. You're going to want to have this expectation. You're going to want to have X, Y, and Z. How valuable would that be for you? For having, I'm sure, a lot more mental clarity, a lot less stress, a lot less worry, all of these different things. Phone call. Move it in. How much would that help you if you were able to go ahead and have that? And therefore, 42-year-old Rose, how much would you be willing to go ahead and pay if you could really get rid of all of that stress, anxiety, whatever it is, and make it so that it is a lot more enjoyable to go through the process and less stress and have more resilience and everything like that? So that would be another point that I'd recommend for you to kind of ponder upon as you're considering making your offer and also naming your price for your program too.
Again, you nailed it. Okay.
So
love it. All right.
I know that there's a lot of
I definitely listen to the replay, but like I said, it's one thing to hear it, but it's just the way you presented it. It's just, I guess it's true what they say. You have to hear something more than once for it to actually make sense. But sometimes it just takes the right person to say it in a way where it really makes sense. So that's all I can say for now. Thank you.
That is true. Of course, absolutely. And like I said, too, obviously you can review the recording, continue to do it. And I know that we've gone through a lot of different things today. My biggest thing is that a lot of people out there, when you talk about making coaching business, it's like all of this stuff all over. You got to do this, then you got to do this, then you got to do this. To me, it's like, let's just simplify it and make it as easy as possible. Number one, who are you going to help and what are you going to offer them? Simple as that. Once that's done, then we start generating leads. We target that ideal client, and then we sell them on what we told them we're going to help them with. And that's all, right? Because there's all these different noise and the busyness of life. No. Like, let's just make it really clear and simple. When you have these 3 things, and now you can actually get started. Now you can start generating revenue and get clients in. So I know there is a lot of information. I'll pause it for here. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and take them. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and we'll end it right now. Just so you can kind of go ahead and reflect upon all these things, then actually start putting it into practice. So I see here, I'm fine. That was amazing. I appreciate it. Appreciate you as well. Eric, is there anything that you would like to add, questions, or anything for the time being as well, before we go ahead and wrap up? And if he's not here, then I'll go ahead and just continue on.
No, I'm good, Chris. Thank you. I'm good.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, it was great seeing and having both of you guys here. I look forward to chatting more in future calls and everything like that. And we'll go ahead and we'll be in touch.
Thanks a lot.
Of course. Have a good one, you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, I wanted to tell you that you are the true coaches and the real students. You made it till the end of the video. Do me a favor, share this with a friend who wants to go to another level. Also, make sure you like the video, comment below so I know who you are, subscribe, and turn on your notifications for the channel, as we will be dropping more valuable content every single day. See you soon.